Kelly Shaw with the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. I'm on a lone expedition to the top of Monte Cristo Mountain. I'm going to service several game cameras up there, and it appears it may be the last time I can service them before winter, so they will sit all winter, all spring, and more than likely, as most years go, it'll probably be next July, maybe even August, depending on how bad the winter is, before I can get in and service them again. So we'll see what's on those game cameras for the summer and fall. It was snowing on me pretty hard a little while ago towards the base of this mountain. Yeah, once we get about a foot of snow, I just won't take my vehicle up there for a hike anymore. So with the weather we've been getting, I just thought, yeah, I better get up there right away. That's why I'm alone. I'm the only one that on the team that could come today, and it needs to get done before it can't get done. I know I have a couple of cameras up there. The batteries are about to die, and then one of them's in an active spot as far as the movement of animals and stuff. And so last time I was up here, it had a full SD card, so I want to make sure I got fresh SD cards, fresh batteries going into wintertime. Squatchy area, squatchy weather conditions. I like it when it cools down like this. Animals become a lot more active, and hopefully that means Bigfoot will become more active. There will be long breaks of silence. I don't have someone else with me to conversate back and forth, so, you know, enjoy the ride. Maybe we'll get lucky and get a Bigfoot road crossing. It's the most common type of Bigfoot sighting report, is a road crossing. We ended up getting a dash camera because after studying Bigfoot sightings forever, we're like, you know, we got to have a camera going at all times when we're driving in places like this, or chances are we'll get a Bigfoot sighting and miss it with the camera unless we always have one rolling. So we will always try to keep a dash camera rolling. When I get up on top onto the dirt road that I take back, it's about a 15 miles of dirt road driving to get to all the cameras. I just hope it's not too muddy. It's 29 degrees right now, so hopefully the ground's just frozen up there and I don't have to deal with the muddy ground. I'd rather drive on frozen ground, personally. I usually don't show you the pavement part of this drive leading up to the dirt road I go off on, but because of the weather, just thought the weather was exciting and beautiful, and of course, even though this is a paved road, animals are still going to be active and possibly crossing the road today. Yeah, I just thought it was a beautiful part of the drive for you guys to see. This road I'm on is only seasonal also. They'll close it in a month or two and won't open it back up until in the spring. Yeah, looks like by the time I get up on top, I'll be driving on snow. And those of you that follow all of my videos, last year, when I serviced them just before winter time, I had to drive back in on about 6 inches of snow to get back in and service all of them. And looks like it's going to be the same situation. The snow is sticking. It's just beautiful up here. Now, when I was a kid, we used to come up here once or twice a year. My dad would get a permit to chop firewood. So he'd come up and cut down marked trees that the Forest Service marked for the taking, and then he would chop those down, saw them up into blocks. Me and my brothers would stack them in the vehicle or the truck and trailer, and then when we got home, got to stack all that up and chop it. We grew up with 2 wood burning stoves in the house, and to save money during the winter time, my parents rarely ran the furnace. We always kept a couple of fires going in each one of the fireplaces. So this was our wood cutting area. So far I know 7 people personally that have had Bigfoot sightings up here. And then on top of that, there's about twice as many of that Bigfoot sighting reports that have come out of this area. There's enough Bigfoot sighting reports up here on Monte Cristo. I consider it a Bigfoot sighting hotspot. Therefore, I keep a really close eye on the area. Temperatures dropped to 28 degrees. Temperature and weather-wise, it's winter up here. The top of this mountain, where all the Bigfoot sightings of people that I personally know, is about 9,500 feet. The elevation up here on top where all these people have had their Bigfoot sightings is 9,500 feet elevation. And I keep all the cameras that I keep year-round up here are in and around where these people have had their Bigfoot sightings. You know, a lot of people say that Bigfoot avoids those cameras. They can smell them, they can sense the electronics, they can smell the electronics, they can hear the trigger, they can see the infrared that comes off of the trigger, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Bigfoot could possibly see and sense all of that, but I'm still going to keep a camera out. It motivates me to come in a lot more, and, you know, everybody and everything makes a mistake. If a Bigfoot is intent on avoiding them, perhaps one day a Bigfoot will make a mistake and show itself on one of the cameras. Keeping them up here year-round is also another tactic that the creatures may get used to them and quit seeing them as a threat, become complacent, and will get a sighting through the camera. But those game cameras aren't going to do any good sitting at home. I need to keep them out here and running to have a chance. on finding Bigfoot, they went and investigated a game cam picture of a Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot was too far away to trigger the camera. The Bigfoot was standing close to a hunter's blind, and you know, they could do a size comparison, blah blah blah, and you know, they could tell that it was huge, you know, bigger than a large man, because it was near a hunting blind. But there was like a magpie or a crow, I can't remember which one of the two, that was in the foreground of the camera. That's what triggered the camera, was this bird messing around in front of the camera, and then it caught the Bigfoot back in the background. You know, most of these triggers is 55 to 80 feet is the trigger range. So if the animal's beyond that, its movement won't trigger the camera. And that Bigfoot, in my opinion, was too far from the camera, but a bird set it off, and they captured a Bigfoot in the background. So perhaps that Bigfoot knew that camera was there, didn't trust it, you know, stayed away from, you know, the electronic smell, the infrared trigger light, you know, blah blah. So there, weird things happen, you know. It's just like a normal Bigfoot sighting. A chain of events, a chain of unusual events usually creates a Bigfoot sighting, because a Bigfoot, just like a mountain lion and a black bear, you know, 99.9% of the time they do not want to be seen, so they're not. You never see a mountain lion. Mountain lion may see you, you know, but a mountain lion stays hidden from its prey, and what it sees is a threat also. And you know, they mostly see humans as a threat. Once in a great while they may see a human as a prey item, but they're intent on staying hidden from us. So is a Bigfoot. And when you start studying Bigfoot sightings, you start realizing that a lot of the sightings, a bunch of unusual circumstances came together and created a Bigfoot sighting. And right now is the hunting time of year, and I've noticed that in the fall, during the peak of camping season, the peak of hunting season, that's when you have the most Bigfoot sightings. And I think that's because there's more people out in the woods pushing the Bigfoot around, getting them confused, and it creates a Bigfoot sighting. It's like a black bear that Jenny and I saw about 3 or 4 months ago. Some people riding a four-wheeler scared that bear. It ran from them and come out in the opening and gave us a sighting. Then when it noticed me, the bear ran another direction, but I could just only imagine that black bear probably thought, oh crap, I'm surrounded. I'll bet you he felt like he was being hunted. I mean, it was just a coincidence that, you know, we had the bear surrounded. We didn't even know the other people didn't even know they were there until just before the bear come out. We could hear the four-wheeler. It was 2 people riding on the same four-wheeler. But I doubt they even saw the bear. The bear probably made a clean getaway, stayed hidden, didn't know we were there because we were on foot. So didn't hear us, possibly couldn't smell us, and then bam, there we were. It's also kind of unnerving, you know, you take a bear by surprise like that. You never know what they're gonna do. They may attack, and you know, we just had a little bit of luck on our side, and that bear ran in a direction away from us and the four-wheeler that was up there. Well, the snow's not as bad as I thought it would be up here. I thought I'd be driving in several inches of the snow. We're just about ready to pass up Matt's sighting location. Yeah, the last person to take us up here and show us where their sighting location, he had his sighting from a vehicle. So, right from the seat of the vehicle, him and the girl he was dating at the time, right there on your left, right up in there. He was coming the opposite way and his headlights hit the creature, and him and the girl clearly saw it within the range of the headlights. So any of you that watch these, if you guys happen to see a Bigfoot off to the side of the road or whatever that I've missed, I mean, they are the masters of camouflage, so I could very easily drive past one without noticing one. You guys see one, just let me know the timestamp and I'll go look. I'm after a clear open sighting. I'd like to get a clear open shot with the video camera, so I'm not going to get too excited unless it's definitive, you know. I've seen several pictures and videos that float around and I'm like, yeah, that's could very easily be a stump squatch or an illusion of shadows and light and all that. You know, for a creature that wants to stay hidden, I doubt you're going to get very many opportunities for it to be clearing out in the open, like crossing a road in front of a car. But hopefully, with all the time I spend doing this, the odds will catch up to me, and hopefully the odds play out to a clear open sighting that we capture with a video camera. Snow up here on top in the wintertime gets up over 5 feet deep. Some places it gets up to 10 feet deep up here. Sometimes I'll have a game camera 5 or 6 feet off the ground, and for a month or two, some winters, the snow will bury my game camera. Excuse me. Oh, it is a muddy mess up here. Hiked in and serviced 2 game cameras so far. I got 3 more to go. And of course, if I capture anything on them, even if it's not Bigfoot, I'll throw those at the end of this video. And of course, if I captured Bigfoot, I'll put that at the end of the video too. Of course, if we hit a home run. And hell, you know, even if we don't get Bigfoot, this is a Bigfoot sighting hotspot location. So whatever we capture on that camera, maybe we're looking into the life of Bigfoot, or if Bigfoot is indeed mistaken identity, maybe we're capturing those mistaken identity items. I don't know. I doubt it's a mistaken identity. You know, I go to these Bigfoot sighting hotspots, and once in a while I'll find Bigfoot footprints. You know, the deep, the right size, the right shape. So I just don't see myself mistaking an elk footprint for a Bigfoot footprint, you know what I mean? Especially a trackway of them. Yeah, because I haven't saw Bigfoot clearly and open enough to make that claim, or to wrap my head around it that I've actually saw a Bigfoot. I have a hard time grasping the concept of there being an undiscovered primate living in the forests of North America. Now, I have very close family members, like 6 of them, that, you know, swear that they have saw Bigfoot. I have close friends, acquaintances, and then of course there's databases out there of thousands of Bigfoot sighting reports. So, you know, I can kind of buy the fact that there might be something going on, but I really couldn't start wrapping my head around it and believing the potential for it to be real until I started finding Bigfoot tracks, and once in a while hearing vocalizations. I estimate I've probably seen over 200 Bigfoot shaped tracks over the last 10 years of seriously hunting for Bigfoot in Bigfoot sighting locations. So I think there has to be something out there. I don't think it's a mistaken identity every time, you know, people mistake things for, you know, this and that once in a while, but some of these Bigfoot sightings were right up in the people's faces and personal. You know, like Derek, our core member Derek Wright, his Bigfoot sighting was You know, he could have reached out and touched the Bigfoot if he wanted to. I mean, he was frozen with fear, so there's no way he was going to reach out and touch it, but he was close enough to touch it. I don't think he had mistaken identity. You know, my grandfather was less than 30 yards from 3 Bigfoot during the daytime that we're observing him fishing. You know, I don't think that was mistaken identity. That was a long, drawn-out Bigfoot sighting. For those of you that have never heard of my grandfather's Bigfoot sighting, it happened in the 1930s in Mount St. Helens. It was him and 4 of his very close friends, so there was 5 of them. They made an annual trip to this lake that they had to hike into, and they went in the fall when the berries were ripe and stuff, and you know, when the fish were biting, and they timed it this time of year where there would be more food than what they could bring in, so they'd have stuff to eat, and they would spend a week back there, and before they hiked out. It's just something him and his friends did when he was in his early 20s. Well, the first morning that they were there, him and one other guy took off fishing, went to their own little favorite fishing spots, and then the other 3 guys, they went picking berries. Well, my grandfather, he's sitting there fishing, and he said the water was like crystal clear. It was like glass. And so my grandfather would cast his line over a bush. He would hide behind a bush so he wouldn't scare the fish away, because the water was so clear, crystal clear, that the fish would be able to see him and spook away. So he's sitting there fishing, and he caught several large, nice trout. And he says that's when he could start to smell something that just stunk, just rank. And the hairs on the back of his neck started standing up, and he just felt like something was wrong. He started to feel like he was being watched, and he could smell this sewage smell. And, you know, so he nervously started looking around, and behind him were 3 Bigfoot. And back in the 30s, it wasn't... You know, a Bigfoot wasn't well known by people in the United States. You know, that hadn't really gotten around. He'd never heard of them, didn't know what they were. And he said he felt panic. You know, that fear of panic. And he wanted to run, but there was nowhere to run. His only escape was where they were at. I mean, thick forest, a lake, and his only way into his fishing hole, and the only way out is where they were all standing, all 3 of them watching him. And he says all 3 were different heights. My grandfather was 6'3", and I don't know what he weighed back then. I know he weighed over 250 when I was a kid growing up with him. I'm sure he was a lot more slender back in, you know, his 20s. But anyway, he says the shortest one was about his height, except for he says it was just thicker and girthier. I mean, a much larger, heavier creature than him, but was about the same size. He says the next one was a foot taller than that, and then the next one was a foot taller than that. So he estimated the tallest one was 8 foot, the next one was 7, and then one his height, close to his height, and he was 6'3". Well, he was trying to stay calm, and he thought, you know, I'll just keep what I'm doing, and hopefully they'll go away. So he nervously kept fishing. He didn't know what else to do, and then it struck him, maybe they're here for my fish. So he grabbed one of his fish and he tossed it back to him, and he says that immediately the smallest out of the 3 ran out, picked it up, and took it back to the group. Yet they did not leave. So, you know, he thought, oh great, that's what they are here for. They're here for my fish. So he threw another one back. It come out and grabbed that one. You know, Then he threw a third one out. It come back, the small, and it was the smallest one that retrieved him every time and took him back to the group. You know, it came and got that one. Well, anyway, he's nervously fishing, and he looks back, and they're finally gone. They took off. So he grabbed all of his gear, and he took off and found his other fishing buddy, and, you know, said, hey, just told him what he saw, we need to get out of here. And they get back to camp, and the guys that were out picking berries, they're already in camp, and they're cleaning up. They want to leave. The guys that were picking berries, they also saw 3 Bigfoot. As rare as Bigfoot is, I doubt they saw 3 different Bigfoot the same sizes as my grandfather did. Dark brown, close to black in color, very dark. Well, anyway, they saw the same thing. So my grandpa, the other 3 guys, the other guy that went fishing, he's the only one that didn't see it, but as freaked out as everyone else was, he wanted to leave too, you know. So 4 out of 5 of them saw what they were. And then my grandfather really didn't have a name to pin on what he saw. You know, he started doing some research and started finding out about the Indian sightings and the different things the Indians call them, like Oma and Sasquatch and, you know, a few other names. But when the Patterson-Gimlin footage was filmed in, I believe it was 1967, forgive me if I'm wrong, I know it's pretty close to there, but anyway, after that footage come out, many years, what, like 37 years after my grandfather's sighting, he finally had an image or a video to put with what he saw. He says, you know, that's what I saw was in that video, only he saw 3 of them. So it was that point in his life he knew he could call what he saw a Bigfoot. I used to get him to tell me that story often when I was a child. I just loved it. That's what turned me into a Bigfoot enthusiast, was my grandfather's Bigfoot sightings. And by the way, they never did go back to that same lake. I mean, that was like one of their favorite spots, but after that sighting, my grandpa and friends, they changed the place that they did their annual backpacking trip to. They no longer went to the Mount St. Helens area. Then when my grandfather got older and had kids, the whole family had a group Bigfoot sighting. Well, my dad and all of his siblings were like elementary school age kids. My grandfather had bought a gold claim in Idaho. And forgive me, I don't know the exact spot in Idaho, but he bought a home and a gold claim, and my grandpa and grandma, well, they owned the gold claim. They didn't have a job. Their job was to get gold, and so on the weekends and when the kids were out of school, they helped. They would go out there and pan, and that was the family's income, is the gold they got out of the gold claim. Well, they were out panning one day, and the youngest one that wasn't working was my Aunt Noelle. She was pre-elementary, just a little like 3-4-year-old little girl, and she's like, look everybody, a bear. So she got everybody's attention on what she thought was a bear up on this ridge line just above the river where they were panning, and they all start checking it out, and it's walking around, and it's a Bigfoot, you know. And the whole family, you know, recognized it as a Bigfoot creature, not a bear, but it walked around in between some trees in a clearing, and when it noticed everybody was checking it out, it finally just went up over the ridge and disappeared. But they all got like a 5-10 second real good look at it. So, you know, my dad, his 4 siblings, and mom and dad, so that's what, 7 family members, 5 kids And my grandpa and grandma, the whole family saw Bigfoot. So my grandpa got to see Bigfoot twice in his life, and one time was with his whole family, you know. I need to find out where that gold claim was and see if I can still get into it. I'd love to check out where a bunch of my relatives had a group Bigfoot sighting. And then my father, him and my uncle Brian, my dad's name's Scott, by the way. Scott and Brian, they were backpack camping as young adults in Idaho again. And I believe it was in the mountains west of Bear Lake where they were at. But they didn't even have a tent. They were, you know, they were throwing tarp down and sleeping right next to the fire. And anyway, my dad, as the story goes, my dad said that one of the nights that they was out there, the ground just started to shake, and it woke me and him and my uncle up, and a creature's running through their campsite. And they had a pretty good moon out that was lighting everything up, and of course they were asleep, so their eyes were already adjusted to the dark and low light conditions. And both he and my uncle saw the Bigfoot in camp, walking through camp and leaving camp. And they're both positive that it was the same thing that they saw when they were kids, except for a closer distance, and it just shook the ground. And anyway, they stayed up all night, leaned up against a tree with their firearms on their chest. I mean, it scared the crap out of them. Neither of them could sleep the rest of the night. And the next morning they packed up and left. You know, it was just more than they could take, a Bigfoot walking through or jogging through their camp at night. And he says when they were buttoning up camp to leave, he and Brian together were jumping up and down on the ground to get the ground, to try and get the ground to shake. And he says it's just amazing, you know, they couldn't really get the ground to move at all. And he said, you know, that's one of the things that woke him up, was feeling the ground shaking as the thing went through. So yeah, I've had 3 family members that have saw Bigfoot twice. My grandfather saw it twice, my dad, and one of my uncles saw it twice. The rest of them, the one time at the gold claim, the homestead and gold claim at the time. So it's stories like that that have turned me into a Bigfoot enthusiast. My dad and uncle's Bigfoot sighting was west of Bear Lake, where I'm at now. If you know your way back in here on these dirt roads, you can get to Bear Lake from these dirt roads. I've done it before. So this part of Monte Cristo is connected to the Bear Lake area. So 2 Bigfoot sighting hot spots right next to each other. There are a lot of springs up here that you can just drive right up to. But the spring that Jenny's stepdad had a Bigfoot sighting at, he had to hike to that spring. And first night that he was there, something was messing around his camp, and I know this guy, you know, he's fearless, and he got out looking to see what the heck was messing around, and he got a fire going. You know, that's one of the best things to do when you know, an animal may be messing around your camp area, is start a fire. Animals are afraid of fire, and the smoke in the fire will usually drive them off. But anyway, him getting that fire going, he was able to see right at the edge of the fire, like what he says was, he estimates was a 10-foot tall Bigfoot. And the reflection of the fire in its eyes were making its eyes, you know, glow a red. So he saw the reflective eyes of the giant creature. Well, of course, after he saw the Bigfoot, you know, it scared the crap out of him for being a fearless guy, and he's camping back there alone, and he really wanted to get out of there, but, you know, he says it was just impossible to hike out of there at night alone, especially with that creature lurking around. So he had to stay the rest of the night till morning before he could backpack camp out of the spring up here. So a lot of exciting Bigfoot sightings up here, and I know the people, you know. Yeah, where we're at now is about 65 miles from where I live, so it's really close to home. So I know a lot of people that come up here and camp and hunt, and a handful of them have all saw Bigfoot. Right on, the sun's poking out. I was afraid it was going to start snowing really hard. I hiked through mud, snow, and ice to service all 5 game cameras that we have up here. Hopefully there's something cool on one or all those game cameras. Would really like to hit a home run and discover an image or a video of Bigfoot on one of those cameras. I try to keep all my cameras on video, because even the best pictures, people really don't buy a photo. A photograph is a lot easier to stage, you know. If someone wanted to, you know, to fake a Bigfoot, photograph is easiest to stage. A video is a lot, I don't know, it's a lot better evidence in my opinion. But some cameras specialize in photos, and 1 out of the 5 cameras I've got up here specializes in photos. So I've got that one turned on photos. The rest of them are on videos. You know, I only have a small handful of cameras that are photo specialists. And, you know, if that's the fastest trigger speed and that's what the camera's designed for, that's what I'm going to use it on. I want to catch the best images or videos possible with the piece of equipment I'm using, so I always try to use my equipment to their strong points. But most of the game cameras I buy the ones that specialize in video. But I ever catch a picture or a video of Bigfoot, definitely throw it out there for everybody. is what we're after. We're not going to just sit on it. We're not just going to sit on it and play games. We'll put it out there. This may be the last time you see me up here this season. But never say never. Could be a Bigfoot sighting up here next week and I'd come right back up here, but you never know. I'll let you guys know if there's anything cool on these.